don't have a website necessarily yet.
All right, so
But
we'll just go with the name for now. And now we
just
are
say
officially
Natty.
live. Yes. So we are live on my channel, which is the Space Fan channel. Prince was having some technical difficulties, which I suspect might be similar to the ones that I had a couple of weeks ago. So we're streaming live through OBS. So that's why the screen has like just this stupid rainbow thing and like a screenshot of what looks like a Google Hangouts.
Wait, Spaceman, it's not showing up on your channel.
It should be soon. Oh, you know what? This is well, Pill Eater found it. Sup,
Oh,
fam.
why am I not seeing it?
It's probably gonna show up soon. But we're here with Oh, you know what? It's why is it named Academics Respond to Women Respond to the Men's Movement? I deliberately changed the name. What? I
This is
changed the name. It
bizarre.
has the name of my original thing. Man, all of the problems. Okay, I'm gonna click
Oh,
edit video and
wait,
edit
I'm
it.
gonna look it up in another browser because I don't know how would Pillator find it, and then I am very confused.
Spaceman, what's your channel?
My channel is
Spaceman?
Space Pan. Like the word
Okay.
space and the word pan.
One word or two words?
It's one word. It's sort of like a flying saucer, but like dumb.
No, it doesn't show up.
I don't know why. Yeah, for some reason it comes up as academics respond to the women respond to the men's movement because like that's what they normally are. But I changed it through OBS. I don't know if maybe I have to finish the stream and then it changes. I've
Or
never had that
maybe
before.
if you know what's happening with mine? When I would finish the stream and go off air, like the test streams, it would show after I was finished. So
Oh, so maybe it's gonna show up as or academics respond to women respond to the men's movement.
yeah, I'm gonna do a quick search,
Should
try to
we just
figure it out.
we could just
Let's
go
just
with
have
it
let's
and then
just
change it
talk
after the
and
fact?
yeah, or something. Yeah,
I think that's probably the best way to go about it. So anybody
'cause-
wondering about why the title is that, that's because that's what my streams are called in the middle of the week when I do those. But I tried to change it to Gaytriarchy with Natty, and I don't know why. But anyway, that is we're being so rude. We're not
wait,
introducing our guests.
sorry, how do you know? I'm just so curious. How do you know that Pillator can see this?
Because I see the chat through OBS.
Okay.
Which should be the same chat that shows up in YouTube. So
Huh. Okay, I think YouTube is just broken. So that's
everything's broken. Everything's broken, and we're
I can't see any
powering
video.
through.
I've just gone onto YouTube.
Let me see.
weird. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll
I
just post the YouTube link in the Hangout chat so that you guys can find it. This is the
okay.
and then I'll spam it in my places so that
Yeah, I'll
sometimes
spam it.
when I spam
Oh,
links, maybe like
yeah.
a dozen people
See,
find
yours
it.
at least started playing.
Yeah, that's
Mine
right.
mine wouldn't even start playing. Okay. Okay. I'm ready to talk whenever now.
Okay, so our guest here is someone who we've been Facebook friends for a while, and I don't. Are you still one of the mods for the what was it called? Women Against Feminism, or I think you stopped doing that because it's like the worst job ever. It seems like. Natty. Oh, uh-oh. We're still here, right? Oh, she's muted. I didn't mute anyone. And now I can't hear anyone. Is anyone else here?
I'm here, but maybe
I'm
her
here.
child cried
Oh, okay.
out.
She might have had a moment. Okay, but yeah. So Natty's someone who I know through the social media, and for a while she was a mod for a Facebook group, Women Against Feminism, which was kind of an interesting group, right? Because they're very much trying to introduce people to like men's issues and to more red pill things. So you get a lot of people who are coming at it from a very blue pill or kind of purple pilly sort of perspective, which is very much not how I approach things. I think that I've probably like really annoyed them many times. I'm one of those people who they're like, dude, like you need to tone it down because you're gonna scare people away. But Natty also was at the recent Justice for Men and Boys event that Matt Buchanan and Elizabeth Hobson had, where Mike Buchanan was milkshaked. But nevertheless, they persevered, and I think Natty was actually able to apprehend the person who threw the milkshake. And looks like she just dropped out of the call. Hopefully, she'll be back in here. But that's a little bit of a background. I know. Oh, and she's back. She's back.
Oh, okay, cool.
Hello. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I gave just a tiny bit of an
everything
introduction.
Okay now?
Huh? Yeah, now we're all good.
Yes.
So
it says off air.
It says off air.
No, but it's because it's going through OBS, not through Hangouts. So.
Okay. All right.
So we're
Sorry
still
about
live.
that. I am back.
Yeah. All right.
Yep. So yeah, I gave a little bit of an explanation of how I've come to know you, but.
Oh, sorry. Can you say that again? Sorry.
Basically, I know you through Facebook, and also because I don't think you are one of the mods of Women Against Feminism anymore. I think, did you stop doing that, or are you still one of the mods there?
I was admin for a while, and now I am not admin. But I'm still an active participant.
See, and I think that's why it wasn't obvious to me, because I think, yeah, you still very much have like a presence there. So I was just commenting a little bit on how I think that seems like probably one of like the hardest and worst groups to try to moderate ever. Just seems like an absolute nightmare.
It is a complete nightmare. You are quite right.
But then also, we had Elizabeth Hobson on last week, and she told us a little bit about the event that Justice for Men and Boys had. And you were one of the people who apprehended the person who milkshaked Mike Buchanan. So
yes,
that's based in Red Pilled. That's pretty awesome. And it looks like you guys have like pictures of the person too. Like you guys did a really good job. Just
would you like me to tell you what happened from my perspective?
Yes.
Okay, so Mike Buchanan organised this event at Cambridge University, this talk with him and Elizabeth Hobson, and I turned up about 3 o'clock because they were in the pub beforehand, and he had publicised on his blog that he was going to be in this pub, that any supporters could meet him prior to the event in this pub. So, you know, any protesters or milkshakers would know where he's going to be. And apparently, when I got there, I'd only been there about 5-10 minutes. But apparently before I got there, the assailants and the journalist who took the picture had been sort of scoping the area out, because Elizabeth saw them walking around, looking around. So it was planned in advance. It wasn't spontaneous. And so I actually brought my baby because I had a babysitter. Babysitter fell through last minute. And I remember talking to Elizabeth on Facebook saying, you know, I have to bring my baby. I'm not sure this is a good idea. And she was like, yeah, I'll be all right. And I was like, okay. And I have brought my baby to numerous events, but they were always things that I didn't think, you know, there was going to be a problem at or anything. And Elizabeth was holding my baby at one end of the table, and I was standing at the other end talking to people, saying hello. And then the 2 milkshake assailants turned up, and one of them was a skinny, petite, vegan-looking woman, and the other one was this guy who, I kid you not, looks like your stereotypical kind of Socialist Workers' Party Che Guevara lookalike. Seriously, I wish I got a picture of him because he's just such a stereotype. And then also there was a journalist who took the action shot of the milkshake going over Mike. So they turned up. The woman kind of went over my head. She was right next to me so she sort of threw the milkshake over me, and then the other guy threw the milkshake in a different direction, which kind of went on me, but kind of didn't. And definitely went over Mike, and it went over someone else, a few other people. And then the journalist got the action shot, and for a moment, I had no idea what was going on. I was like, "What was this? What's going on?" And then I saw Tom, this camera guy, basically Tom always does like filming and editing for everyone. He turned up, and he was there, and he started chasing after them as they ran off, and then he fell over onto the ground, and because he has a bad back, and so he started running out of anger, but he fell to the ground, and I sort of I went after him because I was kind of in my head. I was thinking, what's going on? Like, what's Tom trying to do? You know, surely he's not going to chase them. And then when he attempted to chase them and fell down, I got really angry that he'd fallen over. And that's kind of what spurred me to just go, oh, fuck it. I'm just going to run after them because I just thought I could take her. I could probably catch up with her. So
You wanna finish what he started.
basically, yeah, it was just his falling to the ground. It just made me. I think if he hadn't have done that, I think I probably would have just left it. But because I don't know, something inside me just thought, no, I like Tom. Tom's my guy. Why? You know, why is he suffering right now? And so,
Mama
you
bear
know, I started
activated.
chasing them, and they were still running together for a while. But eventually, the guy turned a corner, and I was like, I'm not going to chase after the guy because obviously he's a dude. That's not smart. But I knew that if I caught up with the female, I would be able to apprehend her because she was just small and petite and vegan looking, and I mean, she had a really good run on me. She had a very good distance in front of me, and as I was running, I was thinking, "Fucking hell, really? Am I really doing this?" And then I started to gain speed, and I was catching up with her, and she started to panic. I was like, "Oh my god, yes, I'm actually, yeah." And then she tried to go into a kind of alcove of a building, and I thought maybe she was going to go into this building, like into a building, as in she had a key or something. But I think she didn't. I think she just tried to hide there, and so I kind of went in round and pulled her out, and I was, and I was going, did you milkshake Mike? Did you milkshake my friends? Even though obviously I knew she did. And then I was like, I'm gonna get my phone out because I kind of had her in one hand, and got my phone out with the other. And then this guy walking past stopped, and he was like, "You look like," and he was kind of German or Northern European. I think he was German. He had an accent, and he was like, "You look like you're going to assault her. Stop assaulting her." And I was like, "I'm not assaulting her. I'm apprehending her. I'm holding her. I'm going to call the police. You need to call the police." And I was so out of breath and full of adrenaline and anger that I was just like, can you just call the police? Can you just call the police? And he was just kind of ignoring me because he was taking her side and saying that I was trying to assault her, and I wasn't. I was literally had her by the arm when
Did
she
she
kind of
say anything?
well, she was just going, "Let go of me. She's attacking me," like that kind of
Okay.
thing. And but then she kind of didn't after I said she's just assaulted me and my friends. She kind of didn't say anything after that. Not really, but what she did say was, and if you've seen the video by now, you probably have. She said to the guy, "Thank you, sir," to the guy that had the white knight that basically came to intervene. Um,
He
and
was
he
a
was just
military agent
well,
or
he
some
he
type of
was
intelligence agent. Because that
well,
was all a coordinated effort. I mean, the fact that they had a journalist there ready to capture it, that was all a coordinated effort. He
How
well, the
serious
journalist.
are you? How serious are you?
No, the journalist 100% was aiding and abetting and probably part of organizing that crime. 100%. Like I've made that accusation public. I am not. I don't think there's any evidence to say, that isn't true. He knew it was going to happen. He either helped them organize it or they told him to come, and he didn't do anything about it in advance. He is an accomplice. He is guilty, that journalist. Because when I apprehended the girl, and this random guy intervenes, um, about a few minutes later, Jordan and another guy who's a supporter of Mike turned up, and then also two other guys who are kind of supporters of the milkshakers. They turned up, and then also eventually this professor of philosophy called Martin. I get his surname in a minute for you, but his name's Martin. He turned up, and also university security turned up. So there was a bunch of us waiting there. I had hold of her bra strap for a while, but eventually, when the university security turned up, they made me let go of her on the condition that they would stand with her and hold her and not let her leave. So
Wow.
yeah, and we waited there for a while. Um, and I got a whole bunch. I got all of it on film, and I had ended up having a kind of conversation with her, and she refused to answer most questions. She just tried to interview me, but then her and Jordan ended up having a kind of debate about abortion. Um, and This professor who turned up, he was the most hostile, and he was fucking annoying. I said to him, I was like, "You look like a member of staff," and he goes, "Yes, I'm a professor in philosophy." And I was like, "So why are you here? There's security here. This other guy intervened. Why are you here?" And he was like, "I'm just here to make sure that she doesn't get attacked and doesn't get assaulted." And I was like, "Well, who by?" And he's like, "Well, by you or by other people with you." And I was like, "Why would we assault her? She's assaulted us. We just want to make sure that when she doesn't run away, so that when the police get here, they can arrest her." And he was just like, "Hmm." And then he just refused to talk to us.
Sounds like he was in on it.
Yeah,
He was completely in
intelligence.
on it.
Intelligence, yeah.
Well, and then
Because what
also
happened
that
later?
professor, I think, wasn't Elizabeth saying that he was also really shady.
Oh, he was, because later on, after waiting for a while, we were there for almost an hour, I'd say. Or maybe we were there for half an hour and then we moved somewhere else for another half an hour. But he started texting on his phone, and I instantly knew that he was texting someone involved. And suddenly, a few minutes later, the other guy, the Che Guevara guy, turned up and then pulled the girl, and they started to try and run away. And this university security did nothing. And
Because they're not cops.
exactly. And so they started to run away, and we followed them, and they ran into their student halls, basically into university grounds, and we couldn't get in because we don't have university ID. And but like
Fascist
it was just
institution.
exactly, and it was very obvious that the professor had been texting the other guy who was also the assailant, to come and get his woman.
Wow, so that actually implicates that university in this whole thing as well.
Yeah, it does in my mind. Basically, now that this is all so, and then after that, sorry, we follow them into the halls. There was a bunch of another group of students turned up. One of them started like whispering to the guys as they were going into the halls, and so I instantly knew they were in on it too. And they were just sort of hanging out outside or WhatsApping constantly, looking at us weird. So I just decided we were trying to work out whether we should stay there and wait for the police or not, because they were obviously not going to turn up. We weren't sure. And so I just decided to start like talking to them and hanging out next to them. And again, they were just a bunch of stereotypes. It was just really kind of depressing, really. At least kind of, I'd like to meet one that wasn't just your typical SJW. Because like this one girl, the main organizer of the protest, she had pink hair, she had purple eyebrows, painted on her eyebrows. She had a nose ring, and she had on Ivy Park vest, and it was like a low cut vest, and you could see that she or he or them, as she was saying she'd like to be known as, has had her breast cut off.
Uh,
Oh my god.
God.
Yeah,
Oh my God. I,
Yeah.
ha- I
and she was
hate
a transgender.
well, yeah, but it's so messed up when the transgender non-binaries actually start mutilating themselves. Like that's when you have to actually start like wondering what childhood abuse they suffered to have
Yeah.
body dysphoria where they hate their bodies and
I know, I know.
they take it out on their gender identity, but it's like misplaced and no one's gonna help them get it right. It's fucked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
In
was.
reality, it's
I
a
was
form
really
of it's a
disturbed just looking at
conformity.
it, to be honest.
Yeah. It's a way of conforming, and it's sad. It's like they give up what makes them an individual, and then they become a non-person essentially.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got on film me talking to them because, I was just kind of like trying to goad them into having some kind of convo. And the other girl was like, "Oh, I identify as comrade," and the other one was like, "I don't." The one with the pink hair says she identified as them, but quite clearly she was a woman. And then there was this other group of students that were hanging out there, and they're all just basically WhatsApping each other. And what they were doing was trying to work out what we were going to do, and they were just organizing their protest. And I knew that they were organizing their protest. I wasn't entirely sure how it was going to all go down, but I got a kind of video of me talking to them, saying, "Are you going to milkshake me and my baby?" um, what are you guys gonna do? And they were just smirking the whole time. And then one of them tried to follow us when we walked to the talk to the building, and I told her to go away eventually. Um, so yeah, that's basically it. And uh, so what's happening now? I don't know if Elizabeth mentioned, but basically the police obviously never turned up, and they've only just got back to Mike like yesterday, and we've just got to wait and see what they do. And it's only after we work out what action or inaction the police take before we take things further in terms of writing a complaint to the university about the philosophy professor, and also potentially suing the newspaper that published the article.
Interesting.
Someone's got background noise. I don't know if that's bothering anyone else,
I
but
think
I can
it's
hear it.
Lordy because he's outside.
Oh, okay.
But
Thanks for letting me know. I can put it on mute.
No worries.
so I there was a number of questions that I had, and then I just got distracted with that last thing. Let's see. Oh, so were the security guards helpful?
Kind of. They kind of gave you this vibe like we've dealt with this kind of thing before, like whatever. It's another day for us. Like
Um,
the first set were just kind of like, please don't get us on film. We don't want our faces on film. And I was like, that's fine. And they just kind of like, we're happy to help hold this woman. But as I said, when the other guy turned up to try and grab her to escape, they didn't really put up a fight. They were just like, oh, whatever, And then the
hmm.
second security guard, who was manning the door at the student halls, we were talking to him, and he was like, "Yeah, I've got their names because they have to show ID to get in, so I know who they are, and I kind of know who they are anyway because I've been working here. And actually, this is my last day today, so he had a bit of a YOLO attitude, and he was kind of being like, "Yeah, they're annoying." He kind of said that to us.
Yeah. Okay.
uh,
That means that they're getting stand down instructions.
what do you mean?
Well, and there's the problem with like Berkeley and Portland in particular, where the police are told by the mayor to not interfere with Antifa being domestic terrorists. Sounds kind of
Yeah.
like I would guess that the university has told the security guards to take a similar stance. And
I suspect so. Yes.
by the way, if you haven't hit I'm sure Spacepan would appreciate it, and I know I would.
Yeah, I suspect that they probably have been told to, manage the situation, but not to be hard on these students, because they're always protesting about and against something or another. I know that much. If it isn't MRAs, it's like Palestine, or if it's fascist or whatever. There's always something. So, for them, it's like they're kind of like looking at us like, yeah, whatever. We deal with this all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, it's kind of annoying because we were asking the guy to give us their names, and he was like, "Oh, no, I can't do that." And I was like, "But if you know that the police are going to come and ask you, why not just give it to us?" But he wouldn't. And then, at the actual event, when the protest started, the security were being quite, like, they were like, you guys are blocking the fire exit, you need to go home. And, they were outnumbered, but they could have been more hard on the students, in my opinion, but they weren't really. But, like, the thing is, the UK is a bit more passive in general in terms of these things than the US. So even if the university was really pissed off with these people and didn't have a kind of tolerant attitude to them, they still probably would be like this, because we're just not, I don't know, we're just not quick to aggravate. I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking about stereotypes and what I know about the USA, but you can tell me if I'm wrong or right about that particular interpretation of what goes on over there.
If Americans are less likely to like instigate or cause an issue.
Really, I don't know. You tell me, because I get the impression that the police and security are a bit more just quicker to just kind of remove people, whereas in the UK they tend to have an approach where they just let people let off steam for ages, and then eventually, so like if you see footage of protests in the UK, the police never tend to the police don't tend to like remove them straight away. They tend to let them, if they're doing something illegal like blocking fire exits or something like that, they tend to let them let off steam for a while, and then
I can
after
answer
a
the
few
question.
hours or the next day they'll remove them. That's what they tend to do in the UK.
Okay, so in the United States, yeah, they have a sort of a more militaristic protocol. So if they tend to, I mean, not in Portland and Berkeley where they don't get to intervene at all as long as it's the red and blacks being domestic terrorists. But I'm up in Seattle, and Seattle is bad. It's very, very far leftist. It's similar to Portland in a lot of ways. It's actually worse. There's more institutionalized far leftism, less crazy there's more money in Seattle than in Portland, so there's like less crazy young activists that start riots and stuff. But there was a few weeks ago, Washington State announced that they were going to unban affirmative action, which of course is constitutionally illegal. The Supreme Court has ruled against it. And so there's the University of Washington, which is a big state school. A lot of students go there, and probably like 20 to 50,000. I don't know if 50,000 is realistic, but probably over 10,000. I'm pretty positive. And it's a big school. So they had the Republican club there, which, you know, there's not a lot of Republicans in Seattle, but there are some, and they held an affirmative action bake sale. There's footage of this on a channel called Operation Cold Front, and they it was a bake sale where I think they were like charging 50 cents for a cookie for white people. Black people would get it for 40 cents, or maybe it was reversed even.
There have been a few of them, but some of them do it in a really smart intersectional way, which is that there's a base cost for it, and then you just have a series of deductions. So, like, if you're Asian, you take off 5 cents, and if you're black, you can take off, like, 15 cents, and if you're a whammon, you can take off, like, another 10 cents.
Okay, I think it was probably like that. And then, in Seattle, which is funny because, you know, there was all these racial minorities who were there, and they were, and also, you know, those crazy white women that get so passionate, the Daenerys Targaryens of the crowd. And they were also upset and everything, but it was permitted, so there was, I think, even police officers there. They had asked for a permit with the university, which means that they are allowed to sit out there in the courtyard doing that. So when one young woman decided that she was going to like hit the tray out of their hands, she was promptly handcuffed. And if the police are going to be doing their jobs, they are not going to fuck around. And that's what it's generally like in the United States. Like, if the police are going to arrest you, just let it happen and tell your friends not to do anything about it. It's not a good idea. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I get the impression that when they're... Oh, my baby's awake. Hang on. I didn't get to put him in his cot tonight, so he's next to me. Hey, bud.
Yeah, I hope the baby's feeling better. I know you said last night they woke up with a fever.
Yeah, he had a bit of a fever for about 3 hours, and then he was all right. I think he's got a small, like a kind of... I don't know if you know what I mean by getting a cold in the summer when the weather changes. He's kind of got that. Anyway, let me just hang on. Yeah, so did you have any other questions about what happened or anything? Quickly.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I bet you're sick of telling this story over and over, and I think that the audience will have gotten what they need.
Yeah, it's interesting though to have the story from like two different kind of POVs now. But
hey, Natty, I'm gonna mute you while you're baby, and unmute yourself when you think it's fine.
He is stopped now. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
Okay. So, I think it might be good to segue into just more general topics.
There was something kind of interesting that someone in the live chat had mentioned, and I put it up, a part of it on the screen. So the link is in the chat, but it's WPath, which is like a transgendered conference. They're having a panel on one of these days regarding non-binary affirming surgeries.
Yeah,
I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's a subscriber of mine, and she, I think, was telling me about the WPath stuff before, but I don't quite know. I forget what it is.
Yeah, so I guess it's a conference, so they'll have different doctors discussing various issues that are related to trans things, which, you know, that's good and fine, but specifically, you'll see, like, in the middle of this day on Friday, they're having a thing about non-binary surgery requests.
Oh, God.
Which I'm just imagining the kind of creature feature, choose your own adventure approach to sex surgery that people are going to end up with. Like nowadays, you have more and more of these like trans activists who are coming out saying that they regret it and that they'd rather detransition. But like in the future, we're gonna have ones who are like, I literally have like alien genitals now because I like went down this rabbit hole too deep.
Yeah. It is a really unfortunate thing, and it really just reeks of a foreign government trying to like sabotage our economy or something. And like, you know, the type of people pushing this stuff definitely in line with the Google, and we do know that Google is kind of owned by the Chinese, or at least largely controlled by the Chinese. So just saying, just dropping that out there. No, that's actually true though. Like, you know what, I'm not gonna say what exactly is going on, but all of the things that I just said was true. It is true.
Yeah, I would say the Chinese thing is there, but I'm not sure they are the main directors of this transhumanist thing, because the trans thing is related to the transhumanist movement.
I guess I don't know that much about the transhumanist movement.
Well, Google 100% is into the transhumanist movement. That's a fact.
Okay. So you think that
Okay,
they might
so
have just
there's
come
a
to that
theory about the transhumanist movement being not just about a technological movement, but about people who are actually trying to bring in non-human entities through their bodies by making themselves less human through surgery.
Yes.
See, with
Thank you. You
transhumanism
summarized it.
though,
Huh?
I
I
think
don't
more of
understand how that
like
works.
I think of more like robots and things. Which like to me is
It's
totally
it's
cool.
both.
Like I'm totally transhumanist in that camp. Like put me in the Matrix, that sounds cool. And if we're already in the Matrix, I want to go in the Matrix of the Matrix. Like whatever. I think most people in like the manosphere are transhumanists. We all want artificial uteri, right? Like
I don't. I'm not into that at all. I think that's very weird, and I don't. I weep for humanity that we would embrace trying to like replace wombs with, you know, fake ones.
well, it's kind of
Personally,
it's a good thing for multiple reasons because there's a lot of like health issues. Like a lot of feminists are actually on board with the artificial uteri because they think it will like liberate women. Little do they know that the real reason that we want the artificial uteri is to create the glorious homo state.
sorry. Yeah, look, I'm not adverse to it existing as an option, maybe, but I'm very wary. I just no. I'm not. I'm to be honest. I'm totally against the transhumanist thing in general anyway. So you know,
Yeah, there's a whole belief that the transhumanists are a result of Satanists who want to bring through demons through human bodies.
yeah, there is that. Also, a really good channel to watch who does really good research about it, and they're not too kooky. Is Truth Stream Media. You heard of them?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
I get
Yeah,
all
the
of my
lady who
information
does that,
from In Truth by
she's always tends to
Grace.
do a lot of in-depth research. Huh?
I said I get all of my information from In Truth by Grace.
Okay.
She's like a cute version of Alex Jones. The
Cute version.
True Stream or Truth Stream.
Truth Stream Media, like you know, Truth.
Oh,
Truth
I
Stream
see.
Media. Yeah, they're quite well made videos. This person, it's a couple. It's a woman and a man who do it. You know,
I'm
and
currently at a conference called Contact in the Desert, which is a conference where we discuss all this kind of stuff.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
That reminds me of when I was at Burning Man and I was like looking through the program and I was like, ooh, they're gonna have a panel on cryptocurrency. Then people in my camp were like, you're gonna go to like a panel in the desert? And I'm like, what? That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's all UFO scientists and stuff presenting at a hotel in Palm Springs. It's really nice.
Tell them that the Phoenix Lights were just a bunch of flares. That's how you make all the friends at that conference.
This lady last night showed me her album of UFO images that she's taken herself, and they were amazing. like over 100 images.
Actually, you know
Wow.
what? I think wasn't there recent news about somebody who works for, I think it was like a U.S. Navy person that like came out being like, yeah, like totally UFOs are real. I feel like this happens like at least once a year.
Yeah, and then they come talk at these conferences.
Interesting. Have you heard anything worth mentioning so far at the conference?
I had so there's Dr. Michael Sala, who's like widely known as a whistleblower for the secret space program and basically different classified projects that have been revealed over the years. And I went to his talk yesterday, and I just walked in during a period where he talked about something called Project Montauk, which was a program from the 60s and 70s to develop a portaling system to train humans to use a Stargate portaling system that was based on a kind of time travel, space travel technology similar to Stargate SG-1. And he talked about the how during that time they experimented on over 300,000 children to develop this technology, many of whom were lost in the process because it was a very dangerous technology, all during the late 60s and 70s. Project Montauk. There's a movie I'm going to watch about it called Montauk Chronicles for anybody interested.
Weird.
Okay.
I think aliens are totally real. Like they have to exist. Yeah, you gotta square that circle of the Femry paradox one way or another, and it's like the aliens are clearly out there. Like, I don't think that's controversial at all.
Yeah, I agree with
It's
that.
going on record. Like they're definitely out there.
I don't know. I'm very open to the possibility, but I'm not going to be on record as somebody who says that it's anything besides that.
Speaking of UFO sightings, I just found this amazing picture of this like gay clown that's wearing like a dick sock that's rainbow. And that's on the screen now for our stream.
Hey, Natty, I want to bring it back to actual like MRA stuff. I'm curious because I was thinking about this. Do you know of any groups of like femras or whatever that are designed to be for women with male children?
Sorry. Do I know any groups that
That
are?
female MRAs that are that have male children.
Do I know any female MRAs who have male children?
Well, is there like a group of them?
Uh, I don't. I don't know. I mean, there's not many of us that I'm aware of in the UK.
Uh,
Um, I think if there were, I'd be aware.
hmm,
I mean, I've got a male child, a baby. Elizabeth has two boys.
uh-huh.
Catherine, I don't think Catherine necessarily calls herself an MRA, but she's an MRA supporter. She she does this blog called Female Fed Up with Feminism. She has two boys.
Karen Strawn.
Elin- Karen Shaw has boys. I thought you just meant in the UK. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was wondering
Um,
if there could, because like it would be cool if there was a international network of women who sort of spoke like on behalf of men, but also on behalf of their male children. As because I'm always looking for ways to red pill the normies, and I feel like that's a really like that's a thing that people would actually listen to.
what from the angle that they're trying to protect their sons?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying? Yeah,
yeah.
because I've been trying to develop this idea of a non-feminist women's network. But if you're talking about something that's specifically about women with sons
Yeah.
or women who care about men's issues who have sons, that's definitely something that might work. Maybe I don't know. I mean,
Because
there's also
I ask just real quick because I have like I know this woman in my city who I've known since high school who probably otherwise would have been a total feminist just based on her peers, but she has 2 boys and she's just a really nice person. And so like I've been in, political discussions on her timeline and people are like, stop mansplaining. And I was like, really? You still say mansplaining? And she was like, yeah, cut it out. Don't say that. I have boys. I'm sensitive. So I was like, okay, you know how great it would be if there was an actual group of like mothers that could, directly speak to the concerns of women like her and get her to wade a little bit deeper into the waters.
Yeah, I'm totally open to sort of being involved in that if that's something, it might be a good angle because I think that women care about their children more than anything really, supposedly. So that might be a good angle to go for. I have to say that my husband has read. He read. I've got Warren Farrell's The Boy Crisis, and every kind of woman that he meets that mentions some kind of issue to do with how their son is being treated or how boys are being treated or something like that, he recommends that book to them. And he said to me he thinks there's more women out there who are seeing some issues with how their boys are being treated than we realize. So like I worked as a nanny for this kind of acquaintance she's definitely a feminist, but she's oh God, she's not a lawyer. She's not an accountant either. I can't remember, something in numbers. Just call her an accountant. But she's a senior. She has a senior position in a very large corporate company, and so she earns more than her husband, and they both work full time. And so I was helping out because her nanny quit, and until she got her daughter into this particular nursery school or whatever, and her son, who was 5 years old, he's very, very active. Yeah, he's a typical boy, really. There's nothing particularly unusual about him, but he's very, very loads of energy to burn. She was just complaining to me about how she has advised the teacher numerous times to just kind of certain strategies of how to deal with her son's energy levels, and they included like letting him run around outside for a while if he gets a bit too intense. Things that you just think, oh, okay, boys generally need to do that, and that makes sense, But when you're in a state school environment, a primary school, the teachers are not really gonna try push the boat out of their comfort zone. And obviously, if they're female teachers, then they just think, just sit down like a nice, well-behaved girl. And
Yeah,
she was complaining to me about this stuff, and I was just like, oh, I really wish I could really talk to her about this stuff a bit more, but I can't because I'm employed by her, and I have to wait until until I'm not employed by her in case I offend her.
Yeah.
But I did sort of say, I know what you mean. He's such, boys need to be able to run around, and they need to be able to play fight without being told off for being too aggressive and this kind of thing. And she was just all nodding along, and I was like, okay, so maybe there's a market. Well, there should be a market because we all know there's issues, of course.
Well,
but
and
you know what I mean,
yeah, and I
a
thought
market for the normies.
I thought of an acronym for it. You could call it MOM, Mothers of Males.
Yeah, why not? Mothers of males.
I don't know how you could.
It makes a
change
lot
it
of sense.
British.
Like, it makes perfect sense. You have mothers against like everything, and it's kind of been historically proven that when you have like mothers together complaining about a thing, people are just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, totally. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's always
kind of, yeah.
It is always like a group of moms that get these kind of things
Yeah, that it's
highlighted.
the gynocentric, instinctive nature of our species makes the mothers the most effective form of advocacy. Like when it's a woman advocating on behalf of their children, so it's like both you're helping her and her children. Like nobody ignores that entirely if it's sincere.
There's another
Yeah.
element of it too that I remember Shannon Gibbs like back in the day she was like on like honey badgers and stuff, and she had a short run kind of series called Sancta Mommies where she would kind of go on social media and criticize like mothers who would make posts about how they were so superior to all the other mothers and everything, and it's very funny. And I wonder if there's a bit of that in play where like that you have kind of like blue pilled mothers, but if they see a lot of red pilled mothers out there, then they might be like, well, I care about my son too. Well, I'm gonna do this and blah blah blah, and then like almost like you could bait them into being red pill through like one-upsmanship.
Oh, totally. There's definitely a lot of competition when it comes to parents and their mothers and their children. Mm.
Yeah, and
No,
then they
I
have
can
the
see
whole
that.
thing of what silky versus crunchy moms and everything like that.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's like a whole
You're making me
culture.
laugh about that because I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, I know what you mean. Yep, that's definitely true. The only thing is, you know how the blame tends to go towards men or the patriarchy. So, for example, this group could be successful in a way, but then when people start to say, well, what who created this problem and where did this problem come from, and I, you know, I could see how it could in a convoluted way still drift towards being blamed by, some kind of, I don't know, demonic patriarchic entity in some kind of in some kind of way. um do you know what I'm saying? Because
No, yeah, it seems like it's kind of just the classic like female kind of hypo agency angle, and I think that's one of the great things about anti-feminism is it's kind of flipping that and then reminding women like, hey, like you really do have a lot of power and influence, and I think that that's scary to a lot of people, but then to a lot of other women, they notice it and they're like, yeah, like I don't have to be all scared and and constantly deferring to like a higher power to like define myself and to constantly kind of scapegoat.
yeah, exactly. Mm.
And that's the thing too is a lot of people are they're very black pilled on women like infiltrating the men's movement, but I don't know, like to me it kind of gives me a lot of hope. Like people will look at the men's rights movement and say like, well, what has it really accomplished? And in terms of like actual rights, like yeah, there's kind of a lot of ground still to cover, and it seems like there's a lot of like larger social momentum that in a lot of ways favors feminists. But at the same time, if you're kind of trying to measure just advocacy, it seems like they've had more gains in the past maybe like 5 to 10 years than we've ever seen before. So there's still kind of a lot to be hoped for. Or a lot to
Well,
give you
I would
hope.
I would say that they culturally they've been very important. In terms of the culture war, they've been very important because so many people started to look at how men are treated in the media and how shitty feminism is. That was kind of one of the first things that they started to look at in terms of questioning a lot of narratives and things. And like some very key people online were have been part of that. And so as much as things in the UK are actually probably getting worse in some ways, well, more than America, I think I see a little bit of a shift in America happening compared to the UK. Like in the UK, we're just about to have misogyny launched as a hate crime in the next few years. Like it's going to have its own special category, and it's going to be very vague. So things are getting worse here. However, like for example,
Okay.
my
I would
husband watches
contend that Theresa May was behind that, though, and that there might be shifts.
no, I don't know. I mean, look, we don't know what's going to happen with the UK at the moment, but this misogyny is a hate crime thing is definitely like on its way. It's already got its supporters. It's already sort of, it's waiting for its moment. So I mean, look, if we get, I don't know what's going to happen. We might get Dominic Raab, and he's a Tory. I don't trust any Tories, but he does. At least he says he's not a feminist. And then in the next general election, we could get Nigel, and I don't know if Nigel's. I don't know. It's all up in the air. But what I'm saying is that for now, things is kind of getting worse. For now, because like we've had a few things in the last few years that have literally got worse in the UK, but that's because we're a bit more further down the rabbit hole than the US in some ways, right?
Yeah, canary. You're a canary in the coal mine.
Yeah, definitely. So but what was I going to say? But in terms of culturally, the example I was just about to use was my husband watches boxing, right? And I see boxing as kind of one of the last remaining male safe spaces, even though there are quite a few female presenters, but it's still very, very masculine. And like a lot of the commentators and people he watches online, they're very kind of red pilled in a lot of things they say about women and like PC culture. And I actually think a lot of what they've been saying has been influenced by the kind of culture war of the last 5 years or so, because I can just see like a lot of kind of MGTOW themes coming out. So like, as much as things are not changing legally here, there's definitely been a shift in awareness. That's definitely happened. So I think that MRAs and like the manosphere should be proud of that.
Well, and the other thing too is it's not like men are even gonna demand like a fair 50-50 shake. It's kind of like it's been at like 90-10 for so long that like if we could just push it just a little bit further, like a lot of men will be a lot happier with that, which is, I don't know, sad. Like I feel like I'm one of the annoying ones who'd keep pushing for more and more because duh, but it's funny that you mentioned boxing though, because I don't know if you heard about that recent story of the boxer who kissed the reporter. That's the big kerfuffle now. Yeah.
Yeah, but it turns out that she's a groupie basically.
Well, okay, as soon as I heard that her lawyer is Gloria Allred, I'm just like, nope, like she's lying. Like I don't think Gloria Allred has ever once in her career had a client that wasn't just completely full of it.
But as soon as that story was released, there was just like video after video of evidence of her being a fucking groupie. So boxing's pretty based in a way, yeah. And I keep warning my husband that they're going to come for it soon. Like there's going to come for it. It's going to get PC'd at some point, but in some kind of way. They're going to try.
Just boxing hiding in the attic. First they came for the memes and I didn't speak because I wasn't a meme.
Well, it's because boxing is still owned by the promoters, and it's not just one promoter as well. There's a few of them. And it's still kind of decentralized, like owned by the boxing community. It hasn't been bought out by some big corporate entities just yet, even though it has got deals with some corporate entities. But once it gets bought out by someone like Disney, then it's going to just fucking it's fucked, basically. So it's not
then
there
it would
yet.
become like professional wrestling if that happened.
Or yeah, basically, or you know, or they'll just be. It might still be boxing, but there'll just be lots of other really corrupted parts of it that just get. Yeah, it's just not going to be the same.
I'm
So
trying to
it's
imagine
yeah, it
woke
stays unnumbered,
boxing.
but it.
Like,
Huh.
Mm. But then it could also be the other side of it, though, which you could see as a positive. It could be the kind of growth of like MGTOW. So like, you know, if there's more and more men who are kind of like, okay, I'm not interested in Normieville, as in the normal path. So I'm just gonna be kind of bachelor guy or whatever, be MGTOW. And what am I gonna do for my entertainment? I'm gonna watch boxing. So maybe actually boxing might stay where it is because they need a kind of their thing. I don't know.
Yeah, well, MMA is ridiculously popular.
Yeah,
Mm.
UFC has gotten really big.
But in the other leagues, actually, do because that's just one league, but there's all sorts of other ones too. And by the way, I found this out. Joe Rogan was talking about this. John Gotti the third, like as in the mob boss. His son is an MMA fighter, and apparently he's like winning a bunch of fights. And he's really hot. I think he's totally hot. But then you always have to wonder, like, are the guys throwing the fights because they don't want to beat him? Because maybe it wouldn't be a good idea to beat the guy who is the grandson of like the most powerful mob boss from the like 90s or whatever. I don't really know, but or maybe he just fighting runs in his blood because it would. Who knows?
He probably has a killer instinct.
That
huh.
was a little bit of a side. No.
It sounds like you're too afraid to even suggest it. Like maybe they'll come after you.
No, it's mostly like I'm afraid. Like, is this a interesting topic of conversation to go segue into? I don't want to talk badly about him. I think he's hot.
You're
Do you
just
guys not
playing the
think that
groupie
the
angle just to get the next kiss, so that Gloria Allred can help you extort a bunch of money.
What were you gonna say, Natty?
Oh, I was gonna say, do you not think the legal challenge by National Coalition for Men about the draft in the US is pretty significant or not?
Oh, definitely. But it seems like it's not gonna like a lot of people think it'll like lead to women being drafted, and it's like that's not what's gonna happen. It's kind of like if it found a way to be unequal in its application for this many years, I think they're just gonna find more ways to kind of weasel around it. It'll probably just
Yeah.
lead to the draft not ever being a thing, which is fine. Like the U.S. doesn't hasn't had a necessary war, like arguably ever. I mean, um, but it's really important symbolically, which a lot of people downplay that, and I think that's something that shouldn't be downplayed because that is kind of the first step. But yeah, that was good work that Mark and Angelucci did.
Huh.
It's kind of crazy how it took that long though. Like you hear about it and you're kind of like, why now? Like, hasn't it been decades that people have been pointing this out? But
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody. I don't know. I often am very convinced that the feminists all know that they're lying and that they're, like, every time they say they want equality, they have their fingers crossed behind their backs. And I've been realizing that one of my big pet peeves, I just made a video about this, is the historical revision of the gay, civil rights movement in the United States, which, for most of history, the history was remembered correctly. This was something powered by cisgender gay men, and in particular, white gay men, were the ones that really got everything done. For obvious reasons, they were the ones that had sodomy laws to deal with. It's not like lesbians were really doing a whole bunch, and then the gay community and the lesbian community were very separate. But then over the last really I guess this was first written in a book in 2004, but it really only picked up traction in probably around the early part of this decade. They started saying that actually it was trans women of color who did everything. They did all the heavy lifting during Stonewall because they incited the riots. Except for that's actually not true, which is what my video is about. Like, there's evidence of, not even just evidence, but I mean like hard, incontrovertible evidence of the person that they say started the riots, who goes by the name of Marsha P. Johnson, or went by the name of Marsha P. Johnson. Her saying that she wasn't there when the riots had broken out, and the other one who they speak of is apparently just a big old liar and made up a bunch of stuff. And what was interesting is that the people who pushed that narrative knew that they were lying. Like, it definitely was deliberate. But they managed to get the two of them, to be the only two historical faces on the Stonewall monument. There was a Stonewall monument that didn't actually depict any historical figures. It was just some blank-faced statues. And now they're saying, oh, but the trans women of color are left out, so they're like having it be them. So they're going to be the face of the Stonewall monument at this point. And they've been reporting, in the mainstream blogs and the LGBT activism, which, LGBT activism is actually intersectional feminist activism. It has nothing to do with gay men anymore. They have been reporting for the better part of this decade, as far as I can tell, that, it was all trans women of color. But people, the cat's kind of out of the bag. A lot of people realize that's not true now. And so now when they're reporting about the monument, they're not including that they allegedly started the riots. It's like they are like, okay, well, we got everybody to believe it enough to make a monument, but now we don't have to actually justify it in the same way, because we don't want to have people call bullshit on us. And this has been sparking a lot of talk because I've been going around, on social media looking it up, and I've been posting about it, and then other guys have been posting about it, and it's actually kind of amazing. There's this person that I don't even know if I ever met him, but he lives in Portland, and he's just some terrible intersectional gay guy, and he posted something related to it, and I was looking, and people are actually really pushing back a lot. Like, there's like 6 or 7 gay guys who are like, oh god, yeah, this is just an excuse to hate white men and blah blah blah. Misandry is the bigger problem here. That's all I ever notice in the gay community. And there's like femme guys being like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's been so hard for me being femme. You're never accepted in the gay community. And he's like, oh yeah, is that why I had to pretend to be more feminine to fit in around gay men? And like, there's all this like significant and potent pushback against it at this point. And that's, the Pacific Northwest is the most feminist part of the United States, aside from like Berkeley and, maybe Oakland. And so that amount of advocacy, and yeah, it's just gay men starting to defend themselves against the feminist tyranny that's affecting our communities.
I know, because they're literally trying to erase gay men in the way that trans people claim that people are trying to erase them. It's quite the opposite. They're trying to erase gayness.
Yeah, and the gay white men who got everything done. They don't, and this is all something that can directly be related to the Communist Party, because Sylvia Rivera, the one that was just a big old liar that nobody actually thinks was even there, but said that she was one of the people who threw the first Molotov cocktail. She was a Marxist for a while. She was a part of the Latino Young Lords, which was like a Latino version of the Black Panthers. And so they have every reason to, because the intersectional feminist Marxist people, they of course hate gay, they hate white men. They also hate gay people. And but transgenderism is considered okay to a certain degree, and it's also considered okay in Islam. So they have every reason to try to just write white gay men out of history and try to make heroes out of the people that they actually are okay with out of the gay community, which is, it's just really, really messed up. And so at least gay guys are defending themselves against that finally, because, you know, when I first started, it was unheard of. Like, you know, people would just post all day, every day, like how much white gay men are horrible, and like white gay men, you know, be like, oh, I hate the mask for mass bros, and then there'd be some guy being like, well, I'm a relatively masculine guy, but man, yeah, fuck toxic masculinity, like it's so dumb, and it's just like, oh, this is so pathetic. But now that people have, like, I guess, you know, 4 years later, people have finally had enough, and that's encouraging to see, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and
I
actually, the
looked-
recent
I
video
looked
you
up
made.
the-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I looked up the lawsuit real quick, and the NCFM one, and the interesting point is the whole purpose of their lawsuit is to challenge the concept of a male-only requirement, right, which is what the selected service is, which would then, like, challenge any idea of a gender-specific requirement for anything. So that's what they're challenging as an unconstitutional, basically.
Yeah, and if applied consistently, it's really huge. And Warren Farrell actually had made this point, that saying that what MRA should try to do is set up like male oriented like gender programs, right, in colleges. But it seems like insofar as that happens, they just become a new version of feminism. They just become like, okay, we're gonna have masculinity studies. Let's talk about how toxic it is. You know, it seems like it's pretty easy for them to flip it. But in theory, you know, when you apply like this 13th Amendment all the way through, it really shuts down a lot of what, you know, these really like unfair things that they've set up through like social justice.
Remind me of the 13th Amendment?
No, there's the equal protection under the law. Or is that the right one? No, I'm
Yeah.
thinking. Am I thinking of a different one? Was 13 something different? What's in a number?
Yeah, I have no idea, but I think, thank you for Natty for bringing that up. 'Cause
The
I
13th
actually
is the
had
one that
no
abolished
idea.
slavery. My bad. Whoops. What am I thinking of? Equal protection. Is that the 14th Amendment? Yeah, it's the 14th. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we don't want to confuse it with the one that ended slavery. But yeah, I was also just going to mention that, Prince, the video you made recently about the Stonewall incident it was a good one because it brings together a lot of stuff about how like BS that narrative was. I just remember when that Stonewall movie came out a few years back, you had so many SJW people like with their panties in a twist over them depicting a white male throwing the stone when that was literally what happened.
Or what probably happened. Apparently, it's not really that well known. But you know what's funny is yeah, they that was around the time they really pushed with that untrue narrative that, you know, they know who it was, and it was Marsha P. Johnson, blah blah blah. Which at this point everyone's like, well, no, we don't really know how the riot actually got started. The Stonewall wasn't a popular place. It was like the diviest dive bar for like often homeless, drug addicted, and prostitutes, and it was the only place that actually allowed people who dress up in drag in it, because it was illegal to cross dress, and so there were drag queens, but they were really, really aggressive, and they were like, no, it was Marsha who threw the first shot glass, the trans woman of color, blah 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 blah. They, at this point, now that more and more people have started to catch on, they even started, there's a blog called, quote, and I quote, them. So you can guess what kind of it's like an intersectional gender deconstructionist type blog for trans people and allies or something. And they published an article called "Who Cares Who Threw the First Brick?" and it's all about how, I guess, that the names are unimportant because it's the spirit of what happened, or blah blah blah. I didn't even read the whole thing, but it's so funny. It's like, oh, you want to know who cares? You 3 years ago, you know.
And that's the thing too. You'd think that if they like find out some new information, you know, any honest person would be like, "Oh no, I spread some information that wasn't right. I want to make sure I correct it." Instead, they're just kind of like brushing it under the rug and hoping
Yeah,
that nobody
yeah.
notices, which kind of tells you
Yeah.
everything you need to know.
It's like, it would be like the type of, girlfriend or female, like, I'm sorry for gender stereotyping here, but I'm remembering like a female roommate of mine, who she was the type of person who, like, let's say there was like a broken dish, she would accuse you of breaking it, and she would be really really insistent upon it, and you'd be like, no, I never used that dish. And then you'd remember when she broke it, like it would be in the trash, and you'd be like, no, 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 I remember you broke it the other night when you were drunk. And then she'd be like, no. And I'm like, no, I literally don't drink wine, it's a wine glass. I remember, don't you remember Becky was over? And then she'd be like, oh, well, I mean, who cares who did it? And it's just like, no, you were freaking out on me for a while. It's like that level of just like complete and utter duplicitous, just weak behavior. And that's kind of how these people are lying. It's kind of how it's never about equality. It was never about truth or accuracy. It's never about making anybody's lives better except for their own. And it's like, all feminists are liars, because nobody can actually look around the world and see men not serving women as the general rule. They are all lying when they say that that's not what they see.
Well, and I have my standing offer to any of the feminists: if they can, demonstrate that the manosphere is all wrong and it's all a bunch of BS, I'll totally pull a David Sherratt, and I'll go and I'll help clean up the mess I helped make. I know where to find all the Emirates. I'll do all of that work for them. They just need to show me the evidence and the arguments. Give me that Excalibur, and I will go and use it. They won't even have to do the work. I'll go and I'll come after you first.
Yeah.
But as far as I can tell, they're just full of it. And that's the thing too. A lot of people, like, when they start to find men's issues, I feel like the initial reaction is like, no way, like it can't possibly be this, like they just can't possibly be this wrong. And then the further you look into it, it's very shocking. And I think a lot of people push back on that because there's sort of this Occam's razor effect where it's like, it must just be that, these anti-feminists are just crazy or something. Like, that's a lot easier to believe at face value.
Yeah, and I also think it's just even a slight lack of intellectual curiosity. I mean, clearly all of us are very intellectually curious people, and that's just how I am. Like, I just, anything that I had never heard of before, it's like, okay, I want to know about that if it sounds the least bit interesting, such as, oh, you mean I've been literally discriminated against, or maybe even technically oppressed my entire life, and it didn't occur to me because my sister and mothers were so whiny? That's interesting.
And your consciousness got rose.
But the I think a lot of people, they grow so comfortable with the familiar that when, even if they start realizing it's true, they just want to run from it, because they're like, oh my god, so many people I know would be mad at me if I admitted to seeing this, so I'm just going to pretend I didn't even see those statistics.
I found another article that was really funny. I don't know if anybody else saw this, but it was in RT in Russia Today. Philippines Duterte says he used to be gay but then cured himself.
Is that the president?
Yeah.
Sounds like he's looking for dates.
It's super funny.
Huh.
Well, also because he's like, I think that he's like considered like notoriously anti-gay and everything. So it's I believe this article. I think Russia today would not lie to us ever. They helped elect our president, and I thank them for that.
um, guys, I'm gonna have to bow out. So,
Oh, okay. Oh, and by the way, Natty, it's reaching the end of the period of time that I believe you sort of committed to come for. So I personally will not be offended in the least if you decide that you want to take off.
Yeah, I might take off just because it's 1 in the morning now. I would happily keep chit chatting with you guys, but I've got to get up super early. So
Yeah, well, we
thank you for
appreciate you
having me
hopping
on.
on too. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you and hear your story.
No worries. I'm happy to come on again in the future.
Cool.
I'll try and do it a Saturday, not a Sunday, because it's a school and shit tomorrow. But good luck with everything, and I'll catch you again soon.
You too. See you later.
Bye.
thanks, Natty. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you two later.
Okay. Bye, Lordy.
Bye.
That desert conference sounds really interesting, though.
Yeah. So I had one more thing I just kind of wanted to bring up, which was maybe this isn't an actual original thought, but I was wanting to just sort of like extrapolate upon, like what is toxic masculinity? And I had it kind of broken down into like an actual logical formula about like how it actually works in practice. But ultimately, toxic masculinity, really, if you really think about what it is it's all of the things that men ever do that feminists wish that they didn't do for whatever reason at any time. Like they can call it toxic masculinity because reasons. And it ends up just being like, as long as people accept that there's this thing called toxic masculinity, then feminists are the default expert on being a man. And so it's like, I'm realizing I should just say that toxic masculinity is not a thing. Like I would say there is typical poor behavior that is more common with males. There's typical poor behavior that's more common with females. But I don't think that there's any such thing as toxic masculinity. Maybe I don't think there's anything such thing as toxic femininity, because who gets to decide what is toxic? And I'm not comfortable saying that people should be doing that, because it sounds like you can compartmentalize these things into little categories. So I'm thinking of amending my stance where you talk about toxic femininity to maybe just like, no, there's no toxic gendered traits that are universal, because like, defending oneself based on their honor, or if someone disrespects you, that's not always bad. Like it's usually bad, but it's not always bad. And it's the same kind of thing. Like I've come to the conclusion that I realize there's times when gay men probably have groped women in the past, but just due to the obscene amount of feminist lying and the fact that we know that we can do anything but, take their word at good faith, with good faith, my official stance is I don't believe you. You're lying. If you're telling me about a gay man groping you on the internet, my official stance will always be that I believe that you are a liar, unless you're like a friend of mine that I already know and they're like, so
I think that what it
that's
comes
gonna be
from.
yeah.
Yeah, well, the issue is that it's the classic sword fighting a fart scenario, and when you're sword fighting a fart, maybe you have different stances and different angles, so it's kind of hard to always stay like, well, maybe this is the ideal way to approach it, maybe this is the ideal way to approach it. It's so fluid, like how they approach and package issues, and they engage in so much doublethink and so much inconsistency with how they use concepts that you kind of can't expect, you know, the anti-feminists or anyone in like the red pill sphere to have like one consistent rhetorical approach either, you know?
Yeah, I guess it's just for me. I'm realizing that for me as an individual, I don't know if I would necessarily advocate for other people to do this, because I think it's definitely worthwhile to bring up toxic femininity and then have a few things offhand that you can mention. But I think for me, I don't want to give them the satisfaction of having a name. Like, I don't know if you remember this last summer, not now, about a year ago, I was arguing with my mother because my mother read that god awful Bell Hooks book that I talk about, the Will to Change, the one that's basically like Patriarchy Hurts Men Too, the book. And my mother, she decided to like it. I think she liked it just to spite me, because my mom is actually like kind of mental. And so she went through like all the necessary mental gymnastics required to go to like, because she was already a fan of Jordan Peterson at that point. So, and yet somehow she was trying to convince herself and me that she was a fan of bell hooks, which is just like, yeah, really. So, the thing about it was that, she was trying to, she wouldn't let it drop, and she was trying to entrap me into like first agreeing that patriarchy was a thing. And she was like, well, let's look at the definition of patriarchy that bell hooks defines. I'm like, see, that's a nonsense definition, Mom. I'm like, she's saying patriarchy is a system of male dominance over, or a system that enables male dominance. And I'm like, there is no system of male dominance. Like, there's no legal, it was written in such a way that made it so that legal wasn't part of the requirements. Like, it was written about social interactions, but it was supposed to be a system. But there's no like system when it comes to social interactions. Like, that's not what systems are, you know? And I was like, see, this doesn't really make sense. And she was like, well, what is your definition of patriarchy? And I was like, well, I guess I would probably go by the dictionary definition. But Bell Hooks's definition is different. And and I was like, yeah, because Bell Hooks's definition is a pathology. Like, it's this horrible thing that's inflicted upon all of us. And my mom was like, well, but she doesn't think it's a horrible pathology. And I was like, yes. And I turned right to the right page, and I was like, she literally says it is the biggest societal sickness facing humankind on the first page of her patriarchy chapter. And so my mom had to kind of like backpedal a little bit, and then she tried to be like, well, what do you think patriarchy is? And then I said, oh, well, I think it's the dictionary definition. And then she's like, okay, so you agree that it's a thing? And she's like, well, then that means, and then she tried to take it a step further and, you know, like try to be like, well, if you think it's a thing, then, so I'm not saying that it was something that, you know, is a sickness, or if men invented it or not. I'm just saying that it's here, and you agree that it's here. And so now that we agree that it's here, we can talk about how Bell Hooks is right. And I was like, oh no, okay, I take everything back. I do not agree that patriarchy is a thing. You just tricked me. Like, you tried to get me to sign fucking here, you know, to your little contract of like how we were going to have this conversation. So in the same way that I will not admit that patriarchy is true at all, because I know that they can take the fact that I did that and run with it, and then start trying to like manipulate what I actually meant. I'm sure there's an actual word for that, you know, like reframe what they decided to hear to deliberately entrap me into like having allegedly agreed with them.
Yeah,
I'm not
putting
gonna
words in your mouth. You know, they get their foot in the door, and then they.
Yeah, and so like I'm not gonna do that with toxic masculinity, and I'm not gonna do that by entertaining the notion that there's literally ever been a gay man who's actually sexually assaulted a woman unless I'm like talking to some woman in person that's like a friend of mine, and she tells me the story, and I feel like it sounds remotely believable. Because it's not something I'm going to sign up for. I'm not even going to pretend to be remotely okay with toxic masculinity, patriarchy, or that.
Yeah, I think what it comes from is they have that kind of gender abolition strain that's really, to a large degree, at the heart of feminism. So they have this kind of ready-made narrative about how gender is bad in a way, which is ironic, you know, in light of the more recent trend that they've taken. But because of that's how you end up with these weird constructions where like when a woman does something bad, that's her engaging in toxic masculinity, right? So it's like they'll acknowledge that women can do bad
Can you
things.
screen share? Can you screen share something for me? Keep talking.
I can screen share. We might get
Okay.
sloppy and show the Hangout link or something, but I don't think
No,
that
that's
really
cool. I'll
matters
just
too
send
much.
it to you on where do you want me to send it to?
Send it to me on Oh, if you send it to me on Facebook, then you might dox yourself. So send it to me on Discord.
Okay. Oh, I have to open up Discord. Can I just send it to you on Twitter?
Oh, Twitter works, yeah.
Okay.
And now we're at infinity. Woo!
Okay, so I'm sorry.
Is this on top? Yeah, this is on top. Okay.
Hold on. You were talking though. You're talking about how oh yeah, when a woman does something bad, it's patriarchy.
Yeah, and like the way to get around that kind of construction is to say, okay, if you're gonna acknowledge that like people of either sex can be toxic, why don't we just make toxicity, you know, the core concept that we're discussing here? Because there's the easiest contradiction I think to point out is that they're attempting to tie masculinity and femininity to these behaviors when at the same time they're the ones who are you know, they're saying these things don't matter and aren't real. Alright, so you should be able to see this on the screen. When a woman hates men, we are told it's because of bad experiences. When a man claims to have had bad experiences with women, he is shamed for not being understanding enough of the bad experiences she must have. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I might have made that.
OC?
No, why can't I see your okay, hold on. I think I accidentally clicked away from your page. I just want to make sure that I'm so yeah, it's like it's such an embarrassing like have your cake and eat it too, like they want to blame men but want to like rhetorically claim that they're not blaming men, so they just say that they can do both at once, except for it's so obvious that they're not, except for people pretend to believe them because people can't ever get mad at women, I guess. You know, it's like, damn, where's the pimp hand?
Well, and that's why a lot of people they'll think that approaching it through the lens of gynocentrism that it's like unnecessarily complicated or that's like a mirror to patriarchy theory. But I really think that there's no way to understand what's going on without acknowledging that that's what's really in play, is it's gynocentrism. And it really does have a way of just making everything suddenly make sense. Yeah. It's really probably one of the most useful concepts ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. Yeah, that and moral outsourcing.
And moral outsourcing. So useful. So you don't outsource your morality, right? That's the thing. Everybody says that it's our capacity to be moral and to reason that makes humans so special. So why would you outsource it?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and you have to start wondering about people who pretend to agree with feminism, even though I don't think anybody really does deep down, or people who do these like weird moral outsourcings, or people who like when confronted with information that, you know, irrefutably contradicts what they thought, that they don't want to know about it, you know, like it's like were these people ever honest with themselves their entire life? Like, did they ever like realize the benefits of admitting the errors of your ways, admitting to like some sort of legitimate weakness, and you know, just being like, okay, I'm not perfect. Like, it's kind of absurd.
No, I agree. It is, yeah, and it's hard to know what the motivation is, but it's definitely some kind of ulterior motive that's leading to it. I think that's the easiest way to get it.
I keep thinking of it as like, I mean, this is my current mindset. I think it comes from social bullying. I think that people are bullied by their peers, by their religion, by their family, by the law, and it's never occurred to them that they could possibly be someone that goes against the grain. And so unless like you are one of those people, you just don't do it until enough people who go against the grain kind of change the Overton window, and then they're like, oh yeah, I always agreed with you, I just didn't say anything. You know.
These are the same people who will say stuff like, you have to speak truth to power, and and silence is violence, right? Silence is violence.
If you're mutual in the side times of oppression, then you have sided with the oppressor.
That's
or
it.
If you're
Neutral
in the side times of injustice.
Okay, I just found, this is breaking news, and it's appropriately topical and funny and gay.
Okay, read it out loud because I have to go to the bathroom.
This is from The Sun. They have a lot of puns in it. Comb on over. Donald Trump gets slick new hairdo just in time to meet the Queen. And they're making fun of it, but I think this actually is a pretty good hairstyle for him. I think it looks good. Let me see. I'm just going to take a pic. I'm going to save this image, and I'm going to put it into OBS, because as anybody watching the stream can tell, I am a master of OBS. What you do is you just get some images, and then you put another image on top of the other image, and you just make yourself this glorious collage. And where's the image? Why didn't it show up? Oh no. So I'm going to try one more time. But anyway, it's basically just he got a new hairdo just in time to meet the Queen. Where is it? Where's Mom? Why didn't it save? Why do I have the hardest life? I'm just gonna screen share. I'm gonna screen share, and then that way everybody can see the whole article as I move through it. For some reason, my screen share works, but I can't share like a window. Okay. This is it. It says he debuted the sleek style on Sunday during a special church service praying for victims of the Virginia Beach mass shooting. I haven't heard of this shooting. I'm not up to date on my shootings. I feel like I need to like set a reminder to just like check for new shootings. It's like gotten to that point. Virginia Beach gunman was not forced to resign, but emailed 2 weeks' notice. Virginia Beach police ID study worker who killed 12 people.
He's a black guy.
Oh, okay. So that's the whole story. That's what you need to figure out immediately. Was it a black person or a Muslim or a trans person or an incel? You just gotta. No, that's insensitive. Dwayne Craddock emailed his. See, this is the problem. Now I know the shooter's name, but we remember the names of the shooters, but not the victims. We're not supposed to say his name or show his face, because then we're complicit. That's just like silence. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. I didn't realize that it happened. I was not paying attention. But anyway, back to the more important news, was Trump's hairstyle. You can see it on the screen now. I think it looks okay, you know. Based on these. I don't know, what do you think? Do you think this is a good, flattering new do? Here we go. Trump's Barnett has been the subject of mystery and speculation for some time, and various rumors have circulated over the years. Some have claimed his lid is the result of a bad comb-over, while others have alleged his blonde locks are in fact a high-end hairpiece worth £45,000. But Trump's own daughter Ivanka put an end to the speculation when she told friends about why her dad's hair really looks the way it does, according to author Michael Wolff. Oh yeah, Michael Wolff, that's a great source. Ivanka apparently often makes fun of her dad's mop when chatting to pals and delights in explaining how the crazy coiffure... What are these words? What are these words? Coiffure. Comes together. Yeah, why would you cite Fire and Fury? Hasn't that been completely discredited? It's a result of scalp reduction surgery and careful styling held in place by strong hairspray. Anyway, I just saw that come up on a feed and I thought it was interesting. You still there?
I'm back now. Sorry, it took me a second. But I'm gonna be muting myself for a second, but I'll be on my computer now. Sorry, it's me being a terrible show host.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this story is like really long for something that's it's not like, as much of a story. I guess the picture's kind of the story.
But what about the shooter guy? Because he was a leftist, I believe. So he was a leftist black male, which is now we have some more token non-white males that they get to pretend are right wing, even if they're not. When people bring up shootings.
The issue is that like now you have people in like Antifa, right, where it's like liberals get the bullet too, and to them they think of the Democrats as a right-wing party. So there's kind of no way to define anyone as a leftist that's gonna ultimately be satisfactory. Like even with like Bernie Sanders, who identifies as a socialist, if you talk to any like hardcore like ANCOM person, they're gonna be like, yeah, well he's just a compromise with the establishment, right? Like they're always geared to push it further.
Sure.
So it's kind of I don't know. So it's almost one of it's kind of like the toxic masculine toxic femininity game. It's like the only way to win is by not playing. And ultimately, like what happens is like they'll bring up a shooter and say, "Oh look, this was a violent radicalized extremist on the right." And then you bring up another one that says, "Here's a violent radical extremist on the left. Here's an incel shooter. Here's a tranny shooter. Here's a Muslim shooter." And it's just like ultimately we're all just going to agree that anecdotes are anecdotes and stop playing the game. So it's like why even do it? Like the way I see it, every single shooter could be like an anarcho-capitalist libertarian, and I'm just like those are anecdotes. Like I don't like it would make zero difference to me. Like unless you had like a number of shooters that was like statistically relevant. But you'd need, like, what, tens of thousands of them or something stupid? Like, that's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I'm going to hear all kinds of things about Dwayne, but I liked him, Scott told CNN. I worked with him. He was what I thought was a good person. When we were together, we would talk about family, friends, things that we were going to do, trips we were going to take, and things like that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure... all kinds of people are going to be analyzing all of his motives and everything. I mean, truly, the only, like, truly interesting shooter is the New Zealand shooter because he releases a manifesto and says, here's my reasons for doing it, and your reaction, which is going to be this, is part of that reasoning, and then they literally reacted exactly how he wanted them to.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to be the thing. If we react like bored enough towards shooters, maybe that'll disincentivize it.
Yeah, speaking of boredom, I realized we should actually be moving on. It's not that interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it is. It's starting to get to the point where I need to head off to work.
Oh, okay. Well, then I will talk to you later.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope you enjoy the meme that's on the screen, or if that's still on the screen. Maybe I forgot.
Now we're in OBS Infinity, and I can change the size of it. Woo! Because I'm an OBS wizard.
For the record, You're better at OBS than a certain somebody.
I'm what?
You're better at OBS than a certain somebody.
Oh, come on. We don't need to go there.
Just saying, it's not like you even had to try.
OBS is really fun, but yeah, it'd be great if I could get my freaking window capture to work, because then I could actually have like a real thing of the stream. Instead, I took a screen cap of like this image to trick people. Which this is technically accurate for whenever like you're speaking, so you know.
Yeah.
But you know, if you can't make it good, at least make it kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
And we found some great images. Also, people are going to be confused. Lean Alexandra here, this beautiful goddess, she is not a tranny. She is a singer. And
Wait,
this woman on the screen, Lean Alexandra, she's duper funny. Her magnum opus is "My boobs are okay."
Her.
Yeah, she's the "My boobs are okay" chick.
Oh, and she's not trans?
No. And her song, Sexy Wonderland, is my favorite song of all time because it's a love song about herself. Anyway. I'm just gonna make her my avatar.
Did she sing Barbie Girl?
Well, Barbie Girl is Aqua.
Oh, that's right.
She should cover that, though. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I gotta get ready to go to work, but yeah, it was fun being on here. Sorry that on my channel this is just one of our more obscure episodes, but I'll fix up the title and everything.
Whatever, it's good for me to have that video up. And I'm gonna be trying to make some more Pride Month videos that are on topic. I'm gonna make a video called "The Truth About Mask for Mask," when I'm gonna be, because I realized that, the femme guys who complain about all the mask for mask guys. You know what it really is?
What is it?
They're mad at them because they'll never in a million years hook up with the femme guys, and the femme guys are hot. Or no, the reverse. The mask guys are hot, right? And they think that the guys, because I've been seeing them, now that people have been arguing about the Sylvia and blah, blah, blah. There's been people talking. It's like, no, it wasn't the mask for mask guys who did all the work. It was trans women of color, because femmes can't hide it. Blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, you guys exclude everyone. Nah, nah, nah. And I'm like, oh, you never figured it out. It's not that they want to exclude you or they even have a problem with you. They're just snobby because they spend all their time at the gym instead of going to the bars 5 times a week. And so when they're going to actually go out to a bar or go on a hookup app, they're not interested in your chubby Lena Dunham gay guy looking ass, and they don't have to be. That's all it is.
And I guess it's like gym class all over again. They're just being shamed for being pudgy and sucking at dodgeball.
Yeah.
Because that's why you go gay. It's not to dodge the balls.
Yeah. I don't know if this is gonna really what's the word? Bring anybody over to my side type of video, but I think if I write it right, it'll be satisfying for a number of people who hate this type of annoying, whiny gay guy.
Yeah. Like on my Tinder profile, I don't write no femmes, but I do write no cucks or feminists.
Yeah.
Just put it out there. Nobody here knows what that means, though, in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm. They're like, oh no, it is gay app. I don't want to date feminine.
Yeah, but that's the nice thing about in Asia is it seems like most of the men they're kind of a little bit socially conservative here, like on accident. Mm-hmm. So, the spinning top got a soft ban from Tinder. What does that mean? Don't swipe over 2,000. Maybe that happened to me. For a while, I was like I didn't have any messages for a week, and then I logged in and out of it, and then got all the messages at once, which I assumed was an error. But I wonder if I got Tinder shadow banned for being too spicy. Also, this is really funny. They let you use "white girls fuck dogs" as your Tinder like anthem.
I've never been on Tinder, so
It's stupid. It's stupid.
It is.
They're all gay. But yeah, happy
Oh.
Pride Month, everybody. Don't forget, it's illegal to be straight this month because this is the month for all the gay things. We literally have more representation in months of the year than in like human beings on the planet. Just like think about that. Anyway, I'm gonna end the stream.
Okay.
Bye.
Talk to you later.